Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wabarakatuh. It is your favorite reader, Brittany Khadija, and welcome to the Ramadan Daily series. This is a series I'm creating to hopefully post every day to give you facts about Islam, facts about my journey to Islam, and give you random information about different Muslims or anything that has to do with Islam from around the world. So inshallah, I'll be here to post every day. So for episode 1, this is the first day of Ramadan. A lot of people are not familiar with Ramadan or may not know what Ramadan is or may have heard of it. So Ramadan is the 9th month of the Islamic calendar. We follow a lunar calendar. The month starts with the sighting of a crescent moon and it ends with another sighting of a crescent moon. So we don't really know when Ramadan is going to fall every year based on the moon sighting. And Ramadan is a very special month to us Muslims because Ramadan is the month that the Quran was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So it's a very special month. The Quran is the foundation of our religion. So it is a very holy and special month for us Muslims. And we fast during Ramadan, and the reason why we fast during Ramadan is because God told us to, and it is mentioned in the Quran in one of the verses that's just simple and simply stated. It says, "Believers, fasting is prescribed for you, as it was for those before you, so perhaps you will be mindful of God." Ramadan is the month of which the Quran was revealed as a guide for humanity with clear proofs of guidance and the divisive authority. So whoever is present this month, let them fast. So that's just a little glimpse of what it says in the Quran about Ramadan. And also what is fasting is another big part of our religion because it is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. And we fast from dawn to dusk. I know a lot of people say sunrise to sunset, but Fajr, which is our first prayer of the day, happens before sunrise. So it's basically dawn to dusk. So that is when we fast, and we fast from food and water. And we try to be we fast from other things as well, but mainly food and water. While we're fasting, we try to be in the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by reading the Quran because it's the month that the Quran was revealed, or by being in the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, giving charity, and just trying to do stuff that is pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the biggest thing is reading the Quran since it is the month that the Quran was revealed. You got cut off, so I don't know where I left off, but another thing that I really love during Ramadan is Taraweeh. So Taraweeh is a night prayer that we do. So we do many different units of prayer after the prayer Isha, which is our last prayer of the 5 daily prayers. We do 8 units of prayer at my mosque. So during the Ramadan, at my mosque, the whole Quran is recited. So we finish all 114 chapters in the whole month. And it's broken up into each night of Ramadan, 1 juz is completed, and a juz is a part of the Quran. There's 30 juz in the Quran, so it's broken up to 30 parts. So we try to do 1 juz a day. And Taraweeh is so beautiful. You just hearing the Quran being recited, standing in prayer, being around your brothers and sisters in Islam, and just being there. And there's a whole different type of feel in the. I am super excited. This is my 3rd Ramadan. And I can't believe that I am going to be celebrating my 3rd Ramadan, inshallah. I really don't know what I did in life to deserve something as sweet as Ramadan and to experience it 3 times. I was at the masjid yesterday, and I was just thinking wow, subhanallah, I'm really about to experience my 3rd year of Ramadan. What did I really do to deserve this? And I started to cry because it's just a beautiful month. So yeah, I'm super excited for Ramadan Daily, and stay tuned for tomorrow's episode. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wabarakatuh. It's your favorite reader, Brittany Khadija, and welcome back to the Ramadan Daily series. From episode 2 to episode 6, I will be telling you about 5 ways that Islam has changed me. Each day there's a different way of how Islam has changed me. So one way that Islam has changed me is that the moment that I did my Shahada, subhanallah, I instantly felt a wave of peace come to me. And this peace was something I was searching for throughout my life and trying to figure out what religion and what stuff works best for me. And somehow when I read the first 10 pages of the Quran and then did a big dive into research about the basics and all that stuff, there was a sense of peace lingering over me in that process. And then the moment that I did my Shahada, I instantly felt a wave of peace. And it's so interesting because I literally, when I called my friends and let them know that I did my Shahada, they even heard something different in me. They saw something different in me. And it's like, since that moment, I have had peace, even with the trials and tribulations that I have gone through. So it's so interesting how, like, when you find something that is right for you, how you feel peace in it, how you feel comfortable in it, even when there's trials and tribulations. Like, I still feel amazing when I go to the mosque and I sit there for like a few minutes before Salah, and I'm just there and like having inner conversations with Allah, like just being in the mosque, and just like the mosque has a different feeling. My mosque that I go to, subhanAllah. So just staying there, there's like a sense of peace that waves over me, and it's something that I've been searching for a long time, and subhanAllah, I have it. So, yep, that is way number one. So, wait for tomorrow's episode so you can see way number two out of the 5 ways that Islam has changed me. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wabarakatuh. It is your favorite reader, Brittany Khadija, and welcome to Ramadan Daily. This is day 3, and we are on the topic of 5 ways that Islam has changed me, and we're on topic number 2. And one way that Islam has changed me is the act of praying. And it's so interesting because prayer is something that I struggled with before. I never knew how to connect to God. I never knew like what directly to say. And like I would just be around my family and they would start praying, and I would feel so awkward in that sense because I never had the connection. I was never really like taught how to pray per se. Like I saw people do it, but no one ever like sat me down and was like, these are the steps that you need to do. So the fact that I pray 5 times a day now is so crazy to me. And it's like, because it's something that I struggle with, but also something that I look forward to. And it's so funny because, like, subhanAllah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us. Like, sometimes when it's like your 5 daily prayers, it's like, oh, I have to get up and pray, I have to do wudu and la. And then the moments where you can't pray, as women, we miss prayer. And it's so interesting how, like, that happens. Like, we complain, kind of like, oh, I have to do wudu, I have to do this, blah, blah, blah. But then when you can't pray, you miss it. So the fact that I'm missing prayer now after someone who can't, who didn't really used to pray before is so interesting to me, subhanAllah. And even outside of our 5 daily prayers, which is salah, we have another type of form of prayer called dua, which is different from the 5 daily prayers. You can say like the things that you want. There's like duas that are just like in general outside of the 5 daily prayers. There's 5 daily prayers and there's dua. So dua is like anything that your heart desires or anything that you want to say. And the fact that I'm doing that too is also so crazy to me. And like, inshallah, I will get better because it's still something that I a little bit struggle with because it's something that's still relatively new to me. But yeah, the fact that I pray now and make dua and are reading duas is so interesting to me. So yes, and if you want to see the 3rd way that Islam has changed me, stay tuned for tomorrow's episode. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wabarakatuh. It's your favorite reader, Brittany Khadija, and welcome back to the Ramadan Daily series. We are on day 4, and I'm on a mini series of the series called 5 Ways That Islam Has Changed Me, and we're on way number 3. And this way that Islam has changed me is growing in faith. So I have tried like different religions. I have tried growing in faith, and it's something that like each religion I would like grow in faith and then I would like, leave from. I'm like, I don't really like this. Try something, didn't really like it. Was never like 100% consistent, and I was looking for consistency and trying to feel the desire to be consistent in something. And subhanAllah, I found that with Islam. And it's funny that even as I was researching Islam, I was already growing in faith with it because I was doing the research, and there's no other like religion or no other like spirituality thing that like made me want to research and go into depth. Like, spent hours and hours and hours on researching but Islam. And even after I did my shahada, I want to grow in faith. I always want to learn more. I want to see like what I can do. I have like so much in, like, I have a playlist that I made about like things to watch and have so much stuff in there, and I'm like, subhanAllah, like when will I ever be able to finish this? But there's so many topics I want to learn about. There's so many books that I want to read, and I just want to like learn more. So that is something that is completely new because I never had that feeling anywhere else. But yeah, so that's way number 3 out of the 5 ways that Islam has changed me. If you want to see way number 4, stay tuned to tomorrow's episode to see that. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wabarakatuh. It's your favorite reader, Brittany Khadija, and welcome back to the Ramadan Daily series. So we are in a mini series of the big series, and this series is called 5 Ways That Islam Has Changed Me. And we're on way number 4. And way number 4 of ways that Islam has changed me is appreciating the small things in life. Like, for example, one of the acts of charity that we can do as Muslims is smiling at somebody. Like, you smiling at somebody can make someone's day, and it's an act of charity just to smile at someone. Because imagine somebody's having a bad day and you go up to them and you smile at them. You can be like the little light in their life and stuff like that. So I don't know what happens, and if it's just because those little things of Islam make you a good Muslim. It's appreciating small things, like doing that, like somebody spending quality time with you is also a form of charity. Just going and seeing a sick person and just seeing how they're doing is also a form of charity. So all those stuff, but also looking at the little things in life that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created and appreciating that. Since becoming Muslim, I always was fascinated about the earth, right? I was someone who you can quote unquote call a tree hugger, but since becoming Muslims, that has been heightened. It was about here, then went all the way up here, because I can look at a tree and see I was in Florida and I was looking at a palm tree and looking how detailed that certain palm tree I was looking at, and I was like, look how beautiful this is. And I started to cry. I'm not me crying over a palm tree, but just looking at how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created things and the imperfections of that palm tree and how it's still beautiful. And that's what inspired me to write this poem called I forgot what I named it, but it was something about I forgot what I named my poem. It was the beauty in our imperfections. It's on my page, so you should see that. Can go listen to that. Literally forgot what I named it, but I talked about how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't make creations perfect, but we're still beautiful to each other. Simple things are beautiful. So just appreciating the small things in life, appreciating the small acts, just the small little things, that has been more heightened than before. And then I try to think about, did I appreciate the small things before? Did I look at a tree and was overwhelmed by the beauty of it? I honestly don't know. I did appreciate nature because I was somewhat of a tree hugger then, but subhanallah, it's so interesting what happens after you change religions and after your perspective of the world changed. So that was way number 4 out of the 5 ways that Islam has changed me. For the last way that we're going to talk about, way number 5, see tomorrow's episode. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wabarakatuh. This is your favorite reader, Brittany Khadija, and welcome back to the Ramadan Daily series. And we're on day number 6, and we are on the mini series of the regular series talking about 5 ways that Islam has changed me. And we're on way number 5. And way number 5 is Islam has changed me by actually looking forward to having a religious community. And to give you more details, before, when I used to go to church and stuff like that, I didn't really have a community. I didn't really even want to connect with people. I just didn't had no desire to do that. And as soon as I became Muslim, I was like, I want a mentor. I need to figure out how I'm going to make friends in this community. I need to figure out who I need to be around. And it's so interesting how that mindset has changed because I found a religion that was good for me, that was best for me. And by having a religious community and having a home, back in in Christianity we say church home, but having a mosque home and having a community of when I see people that I see often, they say hi to me, I say hi to them, we hug each other. There's just something so beautiful about my masjid in particular, about people hugging each other, people saying how you doing, people calling you out if they haven't seen you in a while. It's just that sense of community. And also being known to people. I am someone who is new to the community, and how I do not take it for granted how my community has accepted me and have embraced me and have shown me so much love. Subhanallah, I don't know what I did to deserve this. I'm extremely humbled and extremely honored that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala think that I will deserve a community like this. So just having that community and having that love and knowing that if I need something, I can call on my brothers and sisters and knowing that they'll be there for me, and knowing that there's a community that can help you if you ever need help. So it's just something so beautiful. I never thought I would have that, and it changed me because then I want to be the person for some of the people that showed love to me, and like for some brothers and sisters who need help, I want to be the person to help them because that is just like what I see in the community. And that's also part of my culture, being West Indian. We help each other, and just seeing that. So that is another way that Islam has changed me, is wanting to build a community and looking forward to being a part of it and contributing to that community. So that is the end of the series of 5 ways that Islam has changed me. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I will be having maybe another mini series in the Ramadan Daily series. So I hope you enjoy it. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wabarakatuh. It's your favorite reader, Brittany Khadija, and welcome back to the Ramadan Daily series, and we're on day 8. And today's topic, we're going to talk about a historic moment. So do you know who is the richest man who is said to have ever lived? Have you heard of Mansa Musa? If you have heard of Mansa Musa, do you know the famous story about when he was giving away so much gold? And do you know why he was giving away so much gold? It's because he was on his way to do pilgrimage to complete Hajj, subhanAllah. Mansa Musa was the king of the Mali Empire in West Africa from 1312 to 1337. His kingdom included modern-day Mali, Nigeria, Mauritania, I can never pronounce that, I'm so sorry to all the people from that country, Gambia, Guinea, Burkina Faso, Senegal, and Chad. His kingdom was the second largest kingdom at the time, only smaller than the Mongol Empire. When he became king, he already inherited a rich kingdom, and the wealth of that kingdom can't even be calculated today. And at 1324, that is when Mansa Musa decided to make his pilgrimage to Hajj. During this pilgrimage, he traveled with 60,000 people, 100 camels, and each camel was reportedly holding about 300 pounds of gold. It is reported that every Friday during his journey, he would request to have a mosque built where he was. And it was also reported that he will give gold on his way from the Mali Empire to Mecca. And then when he arrived to Egypt, him and the king of Egypt ended up getting into a little skedaddle, and all because the king, when he arrived, heard that he was another king basically, and asked Mansa Musa to bow down to him. And subhanAllah, Mansa Musa said, I only bow down to Allah. Subhanallah. And that caused some tension, but I guess they kind of worked it out. And also it's reportedly that he gave away so much gold in Egypt because the gold was too heavy on his camels couldn't hold it any longer, so he had to like free up some gold. But then other reports said that he just gave it away. But he did give away a lot of gold in Egypt, and he gave away so much gold that the worth of gold went down for 12 years. And it said that he was impressed by the Masjid al-Haram and seeing the Kaaba, that he wanted to have some of that stuff in the Mali Empire. So when he came back, he requested architects, scholars, and poets to come back with him to Mali so he can increase the knowledge and the architecture there. When they got back to the Malian Empire, it is said that he paid each architect 440 pounds of gold, which is about $8 million today, all to help build different buildings. And one of the buildings that is most famous in Mali is the Jingueweber Mosque. I'm so sorry, I can't pronounce it correctly. And this mosque was so beautiful because instead of him copying the Middle Eastern style, he decided to do it in the traditional Mali style, which I think is so beautiful to have his culture and Islam intertwined with each other. The scholars helped cities like Gao and Timbuktu become cultural centers and also helped to build universities. And one of the universities that was built during this time was the University of Sankore. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. And this university became a top university for religion, math, and astronomy. So I hope you enjoyed this little fact. So assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So before Ramadan, we were talking about like how do you tell that Ramadan's starting. So our head imam was like, "Oh, you're gonna see the crescent moon, and you're gonna see on the west. That's how you know that Ramadan's starting." He goes, "Oh, it's really hard for you to see the crescent moon where we live because of like it's really cloudy and you're unable to see it." So I was like, "Okay, cool. I won't be able to see it. Hopefully, somebody takes a picture." So I am on my way to Taraweeh, and subhanAllah, I see the crescent moon. And I was like screaming in my car because I never saw a crescent moon before. So I was just like, oh my goodness, there's a crescent moon. And I was like freaking out and ended up getting a nice picture of it. And I went to go pick up my friend. So we were carpooling to Taraweeh. And I told her I was outside. And I was like outside of my car looking for the moon so I could show it to her. She was in the same talk with me, so she also heard that it was hard to see the crescent moon. So she wasn't able to see it where she lives. But as we're driving, we saw it again, and we're like freaking out. And I'm just like, "What? I saw the crescent moon! I can't believe it!" It was so interesting to see, and like to see like, wow, this is the start of Ramadan. And I just know that I got a picture of it. It was so cool, but obviously the pitch seeing it live is better than the camera because the camera doesn't pick up the beauty of the moon like your iPhone camera, in my opinion. So I saw it and I was like, okay, awesome. This is like a good start to the first day of Ramadan. Subhanallah. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wabarakatuh. It's your favorite reader, Brittany Khadija, and welcome back to Ramadan Daily. I decided to start another mini series in the Ramadan Daily series, and this series is going to be called 5 Things That I Gave Up After Becoming Muslim. And I don't think I'm going to do 5 videos in a row like I did for the other series. I think I'm going to mix up stuff in between. We'll see. But one thing that I gave up after becoming Muslim is drinking alcohol. So I knew that before I became Muslim that I wanted to stop drinking alcohol. I didn't know if it was going to be before I became Muslim, after I became Muslim. I didn't directly know like where in my journey that I would stop doing it. And the first time I went to the mosque, I was not expecting to do my shahada, subhanallah. And I do have a book coming out about my journey to Islam where you're going to learn more about that. So stay tuned for that. But I didn't know I was doing my shahada that day. So I did my shahada and I instantly felt this sense of peace within me. And I did talk about that in a previous episode. So I did feel a sense of peace. And I was like, for some reason, I was like, I'm just going to stop drinking. And that day, like before that day, like August 22nd or 20, August 22nd or August 24th, 2022 is the day that I decided to stop drinking because drinking is considered haram in Islam, which means forbidden because you can't be ingest any intoxicant, something that makes you intoxicated. So I knew that I would just give it up. And was it hard? Yes, I'm not going to lie. It was hard because rum is such a big part of my culture. We still have rum factories that are still existent in Grenada since like the times of slavery. There's still rum factories from them. And rum is like every event that we go to, barbecues, funerals, baby showers, weddings, like funerals, like it's always there. So it does feel weird because it was something that I partaked in, like especially socially when you go out, you get a drink and stuff like that. So it's weird that when I'm with my family now, everybody else has a drink and then I have a mocktail. But it does feel weird because I will be there with them getting a drink as well, but now I'm not. But my love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is way more than any drink. So yeah, that is something that I gave up after becoming Muslim. So stay tuned for some other episode where you hear part 2 of what I gave up. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wabarakatuh. It's your favorite reader, Brittany Khadija, and welcome back to the Ramadan Daily series. We are on the mini series called The 5 Things That I Gave Up After Becoming Muslim, and we're on way number 2. And another thing that I gave up after becoming Muslim, which kind of ties into number 1, is partying and going out. So partying is also something big in my culture, going to fetes, going to carnival, going to Juve. I am Grenadian. So I did ask like a masjid in Trinidad, like what is their opinion on it Islamically about carnival and stuff like that. So I did get information about that. If you want to know what they said, stay tuned for my book that's coming out about my journey to Islam. I'll give you the details there. But I knew it was something that I couldn't technically partake in per se, but I knew that there was nothing wrong about learning the history behind it and knowing where it comes from and where these traditions come from and how it's about rebellion and stuff like that. So there's nothing wrong in being into the history of your culture and stuff like that. So I knew like going to party and stuff like that because like I decided to wear the hijab, which I'm going to talk about in that episode. So how does it look that me in a hijab look someone who's modest at a party at carnival? Like it just didn't make sense to me. Like for me, that's just my personal opinion. So going to parties and stuff has stopped. Like the day that I did my shahada, I haven't gone to any parties or anything like that or any like carnival or things like that. Do I miss it? Yes, in a way, because it was a big part of my life. Since I remember when I went to my first carnival thing when I was little on Eastern Parkway. So it was a big part of my culture and stuff like that. But my love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is way more. And there's other things that you can do for fun. And it's so interesting because after becoming Muslim, I realized that I value my culture only on carnival. And I was like, my culture is so much richer than just carnival alone. There's so much history. There's in the way we speak, in the way that our mannerisms and how we do stuff. Like that is something to be proud of as well, not just carnival. So it became like a different shift in my mind of what to be proud of. But yeah, that's something else that I gave up after becoming Muslim is going to parties. Assalamu alaikum, rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And stay tuned for one of these days where I will do what is way number 3. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's your favorite reaver, Brittany Khadija, and welcome back to Ramadan Daily. I missed 2 days, but we're not going to talk about that. I have been here, you just haven't seen me. It is day 14, and I wanted to let you know, do you know that there is a special prayer that Muslims do when there's eclipse? Well, today, this morning at 2:30 a.m., I did that at the masjid. Ironically, last Ramadan, we also had an eclipse, but it was a solar eclipse, and the prayer is the same for both of them. So we did that, and I'm going to tell you the history behind this prayer. The prayer is called Salat al-Kusuf. I have my notes. I'm using my mother's phone to look at my notes. You're welcome. And it is done as a remembrance or as a reminder of Allah's ways and how mighty he is, and that we should turn to him because only he can create these things. And it's also to like remind us that we're not in control of everything. It is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who's in control. So it's just like a nice reminder of that. And there's many verses in the Quran where he talks about controlling the moon, the stars, and all of that. One of the verses that he says in Surah Yunus, that is chapter 10, verse 5, he is the one who made the sun a radiant source and the moon a reflected light with precisely ordained phases so that you may know the number of years and calculate time. Allah did not create all of this except for a purpose. He makes the signs clear for people of knowledge. And another one, amongst his signs are the day and the night. The sun and the moon do not prostrate to the sun or the moon, but prostrate to Allah, who created them all, if you truly worship him alone. And that's in Surah Fussilat, chapter 41:37. So it's a unique prayer that we do. It's completely different from any of our 5 daily prayers, and it's extremely long. I think we were like praying for like maybe 45 minutes, and it was just like, I don't know how to describe it. You can look it up if you want to get more details because I'm not an Islamic scholar. I just want to like let you know that this is going on. But it's completely different, and you do like you're in the ruku longer. You're reading a long surah when you're standing up for prayer, and then you're in sujood a bit longer. And there's only 2 rakats of prayer, which is 2 units of prayer that you're doing. And ironically, eclipse happened in the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When the eclipse happened, he was afraid. He thought the world was ending, so he called the Sahaba into prayer, and he reminded them to turn to Allah, seek forgiveness, and it's a reminder that Allah can control anything, and he can make the world end if he wanted to, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most powerful. So I think that's so ironic that he like called everybody to prayer, called everybody together, so we can remember the might of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to also remember to fear him in a way, to know that like you're not in control. Not to fear him like, oh my gosh, I'm so scared of him. But also like, yes, that too. But also to fear him out of love as well. Because think about it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is like your parent. You don't want to disappoint your parent. You know that even if you disappoint your parents are going to like talk to you. You're going to get in trouble. But you're also going to go to them when you want advice. And they're also going to love you. So that's like how it's a reminder of that for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So yeah, we have a prayer that we did, and I got a picture of the lunar eclipse. This time I didn't get one of the solar eclipse because I didn't have glasses and I didn't even look at it. But I was there at the prayer though. All right, Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. It's your favorite reverb, Brittany Khadija, and welcome back to day 15 of the Ramadan Daily series. Today I'm going to be talking about a topic that is special to all Muslims. And have you ever heard of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Why do Muslims talk about him? Why do we reference to him? What are we doing? Who is the Prophet Muhammad, and how do we look at him, right? So as a non-Muslim, I always found it so fascinating how people would talk about the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and I never really got a grasp of who he was and what he did. So the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the 25th prophet, and we only know about 25 prophets, even though about 124,000 was sent down. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only mentioned 25. And the Prophet Muhammad is one of the top 5 of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's favorites. The other favorites are Abraham, aka Ibrahim, Musa, aka Moses, Isa, aka Jesus, Nuh, aka Noah. And after we say the Prophet Muhammad's name, we say Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, which means may Allah honor him and grant him peace. SubhanAllah. So why is the Prophet Muhammad so special? He is special because our final book that we believe that was sent down is the Quran, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose him to send the Quran to. So being that this book, that's the final book that is made for all of humanity, was sent to him, he has a higher rank among us because no other prophet was sent the final book. Was born in 570 AD to a land of idol worshippers, and he was not like the rest of his people worshiping idols. So even before he became a prophet, he had good character and he was trustworthy. And his message that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent to him to spread was to worship only one God, believe in the day of judgment, equality and justice, improve one's character, having good family values, and he left an example for Muslims to follow. So what do I mean by he left examples for Muslims to follow? So the way that he prayed, the way that he legislated, the way that he did things, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose him and he is the example for us to follow, we follow some of his ways as well. As well as we follow majority of his ways, like in the religion, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent all prophets for us to relate to and relate to their struggles. And we do not worship the Prophet Muhammad. I think that's people be like, oh, the Prophet Muhammad is like Jesus, like how Christians worship Jesus, like the Prophet Muhammad is like that. Is like that for Muslims, and that's not true. Astaghfirullah. We don't worship the Prophet Muhammad. We just admire him and look up to him, and we admire him because he was sent the Quran, and that's it. So that's why we love the Prophet Muhammad, and he was there when he got the verses to become Muslim. So he had to go through a whole bunch of trial tribulations. All the stuff that came with Islam came through him because the angel, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, sent the angel Gabriel to send him verses of the Quran. So that is who the Prophet Muhammad is, and this is just a brief overview. This is not even like a tip on the scale of who he is. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.